Watch a room carefully when someone of genuine authority enters. Notice what happens in the seconds before they speak. The subtle shift in posture among others, the slight turn of heads, the unconscious creation of space around them. This is not coincidence. This is biology responding to signals that most people cannot consciously detect. Power announces itself through channels that operate below the threshold of awareness. Before a word is uttered, before credentials are mentioned, before titles are exchanged, the human nervous system has already made its calculations. Some individuals radiate authority, others project submission. The difference lies not in what they say, but in what they silently broadcast. Every human interaction begins with an invisible negotiation. Within the first 3 seconds of visual contact, brains process thousands of microsignals: facial muscle tension, shoulder alignment, the quality of breathing, the steadiness of gaze. These assessments happen faster than conscious thought, yet they determine the entire trajectory of what follows. Most people believe power comes from position, from wealth, from knowledge. These are tools of power, but they are not power itself. True power is a frequency that resonates from the body, through micro-expressions, through the quality of stillness, through the architecture of presence. Those who understand this frequency can cultivate it regardless of their circumstances. The modern world has forgotten this ancient language. We focus on verbal persuasion while ignoring the deeper communication that shapes every interaction. We polish our words while our bodies betray our insecurities. We seek influence through talking when influence flows through being. There exists a hierarchy of presence that governs human interactions more powerfully than any spoken argument. This hierarchy operates through mechanisms that predate language, mechanisms that evolved when survival depended on instantly recognizing friend from foe, predator from prey, leader from follower. Consider the meeting room. Before the agenda begins, the true dynamics have already established themselves. One person sits slightly forward, claiming territory with their stance. Another unconsciously mirrors the posture of whoever seems most confident. A third person fills silence with unnecessary words, revealing their discomfort with authority. These patterns repeat across cultures, across centuries, because they emerge from something deeper than learned behavior. The arrangement of chairs tells its own story. Some individuals arrive early to select positions that provide visual command of the room. Others accept whatever seat remains available, signaling their willingness to adapt to circumstances beyond their control. The person who can rearrange the seating without asking permission operates from different assumptions about their place in the world than the person who carefully maintains whatever configuration they encounter. The eyes reveal the first layer of this communication. Not what they look at, but how they look. There exists a quality of gaze that signals dominance and another that signals submission. The dominant gaze is steady, unhurried, assessing. It does not dart away when met with other eyes. It does not seek approval or validation. It simply observes, as if the observer holds some form of judgment over what they see. The submissive gaze, by contrast, is restless. It seeks permission to exist in the space. It breaks contact first, not from politeness, but from an unconscious recognition of hierarchy. This person looks up to others more than others look up to them, and this imbalance is felt by everyone present. But the eyes are only the beginning. Power flows through the entire physical presence in ways that most people never consciously recognize. Stillness carries more authority than movement. This contradicts what many believe about charisma and leadership. The person who commands attention is rarely the one gesturing wildly or pacing the room. They are the one who has mastered the art of controlled presence. Their movements, when they occur, are deliberate and complete. They do not fidget. They do not adjust their clothing repeatedly. They do not fill space with nervous energy. This stillness creates a vacuum that others feel compelled to fill. When someone possesses genuine authority, others unconsciously work to earn their attention, to gain their approval, to fill the silence that their presence creates. The still person becomes the center around which others orbit. Examine how hands reveal internal state. Nervous energy expresses itself through constant micro-movements, touching the face, adjusting hair, tapping fingers, playing with objects. These actions create visual noise that broadcasts anxiety to everyone present. The secure individual keeps their hands still unless engaged in purposeful action. They touch their face rarely, adjust their appearance minimally, and resist the impulse to fidget with available objects. The placement of hands also signals orientation toward the environment. Some people keep their hands hidden, in pockets, under tables, behind their backs. This suggests a protective stance, a withdrawal from full engagement. Others place their hands visibly, signaling openness to interaction and confidence in their ability to handle whatever might occur. Watch how different people occupy chairs. Some perch on the edge, ready to flee or apologize. Others lean back, claiming the entire space as their domain. The difference is not comfort level. It is a fundamental orientation toward the world. One position signals, "I hope I am allowed to be here." The other signals, "I belong wherever I choose to be." The angle of the spine tells a story about internal authority. Some individuals maintain vertical alignment even when seated casually. Others collapse inward, as if apologizing for the space their body requires. This postural difference affects not only how others perceive them, but how they perceive themselves. Space itself bends around certain individuals. They walk through crowds differently. Others step aside, not from conscious decision, but from instinctual recognition of something they cannot name. This is not about physical size or aggression. Some of the most commanding presences belong to people of unremarkable stature. The signal they emit operates through channels that bypass rational thought. Territory marking happens in subtle ways that reveal deep truths about social positioning. Notice who places their belongings to claim space and who keeps their possessions carefully contained. Observe who spreads their papers across a conference table and who keeps everything in a neat, apologetic pile. These choices broadcast messages about who expects to be accommodated and who expects to accommodate others. The rhythm of speech matters more than its content. Not the words chosen, but the spaces between them. Authority speaks with pauses. It does not rush to fill silence. It allows ideas to settle before continuing. This creates the impression that every word carries weight, that the speaker can afford to let thoughts develop naturally rather than racing to prove their value. Insecurity, by contrast, speaks in torrents. It fills every gap with sound, terrified that silence will reveal inadequacy. This creates the opposite effect of what is intended. The listener begins to discount the words because the delivery signals desperation for approval. Voice quality changes based on internal state, and these changes register unconsciously in others. The voice of genuine authority carries resonance. It emerges from a relaxed diaphragm, from confidence in the right to speak. The voice of insecurity emerges from tension, from constricted breathing, from the fear that speaking at all is presumptuous. These vocal differences trigger responses that the listener cannot explain. Some voices make others lean in, compelled to hear more. Other voices make listeners unconsciously withdraw, even when the content is identical. The difference lies not in what is said, but in the physiological state from which it emerges. Physical barriers reveal psychological ones. Some individuals use objects, phones, papers, coffee cups, as shields between themselves and others. They unconsciously create distance because proximity feels threatening. Others move obstacles aside, eliminating barriers between themselves and their environment. They signal comfort with connection, with being fully present and observable. The speed of response to questions or challenges tells a deeper story than the response itself. Those operating from security take time to consider. They do not rush to defend or explain. They process the input without panic, suggesting an internal stability that cannot be easily shaken. Those operating from insecurity respond immediately, often defensively, revealing that the question has triggered an alarm system. Perhaps the most powerful signal occurs in how individuals handle mistakes or awkward moments. Some people deflect immediately, apologize excessively, or find someone else to blame. Others acknowledge errors with minimal drama and move forward. This difference in error processing reveals core beliefs about personal worth and social position. Interruption patterns expose the true hierarchy in any conversation. Notice who speaks over others and who gets spoken over. Observe who waits for natural pauses and who bulldozes through them. This dynamic rarely correlates with formal rank or expertise. Instead, it reveals who operates with internal permission and who operates with internal uncertainty. But perhaps the most powerful signal occurs in how individuals handle mistakes or awkward moments. Some people deflect immediately, apologize excessively, or find someone else to blame. Others acknowledge errors with minimal drama and move forward. This difference in error processing reveals core beliefs about personal worth and social position. The person who can own mistakes without crumbling signals deep security. They suggest that their value is not dependent on perfection, that they can absorb criticism without fundamental damage. This stability is magnetic because it promises reliability in chaos. Interruption patterns expose the true hierarchy in any conversation. Notice who speaks over others and who gets spoken over. Observe who waits for natural pauses and who bulldozes through them. This dynamic rarely correlates with formal rank or expertise. Instead, it reveals who operates with internal permission and who operates with internal uncertainty. The most commanding individuals often speak least, but when they speak, others fall silent. They have cultivated a presence that makes their words carry weight. They do not compete for airtime because they trust that their contributions will be heard when offered. Others fill silence with commentary, questions, or observations because they fear that silence equals invisibility. They cannot distinguish between being ignored and being respected enough to be allowed periods of quiet observation. Reaction to stress separates those with genuine authority from those merely playing the role. When pressure increases, some individuals become more centered, more deliberate in their responses. Stress reveals their capacity rather than destroying it. Others fragment under pressure, revealing that their authority was constructed rather than authentic. This difference becomes apparent in crisis moments when facades cannot be maintained. The person with genuine authority becomes more themselves under stress. The person with constructed authority begins to unravel, searching frantically for scripts that no longer apply. Attention direction creates invisible hierarchies. Some individuals naturally draw focus to themselves through presence alone. Others work to direct attention elsewhere, either from generosity or from discomfort with being observed. The pattern of who looks at whom during group interactions reveals the true power structure more accurately than any organizational chart. People unconsciously seek eye contact with those they perceive as having authority when making points or seeking validation. They look away from those they perceive as subordinate. This creates visible patterns of influence that operate entirely outside conscious awareness. The handling of physical objects tells stories about internal state. Some people move through space confidently, touching surfaces and adjusting environments to suit their needs. Others move carefully, touching only what is necessary, leaving minimal traces of their presence. These patterns reflect deep beliefs about belonging and permission. Those who feel genuine authority will rearrange furniture if needed, adjust lighting, move objects that obstruct their view. They operate from the assumption that their comfort matters and that environments should serve their needs. Others adapt themselves to whatever environment they encounter, signaling that their needs are secondary. Response to challenges reveals the depth of internal security. When questioned or contradicted, some individuals remain physiologically calm. Their breathing stays steady, their posture unchanged. They can examine criticism without triggering defensive reactions. Others show immediate stress responses, tension in shoulders, changes in breathing, protective posturing, before they even process the content of the challenge. This physiological reaction is detected by others at an unconscious level. It signals whether someone can handle pressure, whether they can be trusted in difficult situations, whether their authority will hold under stress. Perhaps most tellingly, genuine authority requires no announcement. It needs no verbal establishment of credentials, no explicit claiming of space or position. It simply exists and allows others to recognize it. Constructed authority, by contrast, must constantly assert itself through words, through reminders of position, through explicit claims to respect. The difference becomes apparent when these individuals enter neutral environments where formal hierarchies do not apply. Some carry their authority with them like an invisible crown. Others deflate without their official context, revealing that their power was borrowed rather than owned. Understanding these signals provides strategic advantages, but more importantly, it reveals the mechanisms through which human societies have always organized themselves. These patterns persist because they serve evolutionary functions that remain relevant despite our technological advancement. Those who can read these signals gain insight into the true dynamics of any situation. They see beyond stated positions to actual influence patterns. They understand who really makes decisions, who others turn to for guidance, who carries genuine authority regardless of title. More importantly, those who understand these mechanisms can cultivate authentic presence rather than performing hollow authority. They can develop the internal security that generates natural respect, rather than demanding it through position or aggression. The signals examined here operate below conscious awareness because they emerged from survival needs that predate complex language. They continue to influence modern interactions because human neurology has not evolved as quickly as human society. We still respond to these ancient signals even when they no longer serve survival functions. This creates both opportunity and responsibility. Those who understand these mechanisms can use them ethically to build genuine influence based on competence and security, or they can manipulate them to create false impressions of authority. The choice reveals character as clearly as any other signal we broadcast. Cultural variations exist in the expression of these signals, but the underlying mechanisms remain remarkably consistent across human populations. The specific behaviors that communicate dominance or submission may differ between societies, but the fundamental neural processing that responds to these signals operates similarly across cultures. The relationship between internal state and external signals creates feedback loops that either reinforce or undermine authority over time. Those who consistently present signals of confidence begin to feel more confident. Those who habitually present signals of insecurity become more insecure. The body teaches the mind as much as the mind controls the body. This suggests that the development of authentic authority involves both internal and external work. Building genuine competence and security provides the foundation, while conscious attention to physical presence and communication patterns accelerates the process of being perceived accurately by others. The most sophisticated individuals learn to read these signals in others while managing their own broadcasts consciously. They understand that every interaction is a negotiation conducted through channels that most people cannot perceive.